Hello, everyone. Jack Michaels, along with the new general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, Ken Holland. And Ken, this is not an everyday move. You got 36 years in Detroit, 22 as the GM, but 36 total. Back to your goaltending days.
Yeah.
Why Edmonton? It's a big move.
Yeah, well, you know what? I played junior hockey in Medicine Hat long time ago, so certainly I know I'm a Western Canadian. I'm born in Vernon, BC, so I love Western Canada. The Oilers have an incredible history. Obviously, have some great young players. I've got a relationship with Bob Nicholson through the years with Hockey Canada. And in 06, when the Red Wings played the Oilers in a playoff series and you guys knocked us out and went on to the Stanley Cup Finals, I certainly got a first-hand look at the passion of this fan base. So passionate fan base, some great young players, and some great people. I'm looking forward to moving to Edmonton.
You're known as a relationship builder, and you touched on it real briefly. Part of the reason you arrive at this decision is your relationship with Bob Nicholson. Besides both being BC boys, what's the origin of that relationship and how has it developed over time?
Well, I think it's based, I think Bob's got passion, Bob's got energy. I really got to know Bob probably, the early 2000s. In 2005, I was the assistant general manager of the World Championship team. Went to the Worlds. That was the year of the lockout, and spent a lot of time with Bob. Then 2006, I was the general manager in Latvia. 2010, part of the Olympic team. 2014, part of the Olympic team. And I knew Bob through hockey. Besides that, so I think that. I got a great respect for Bob. He's a people person.
That's what kind of person Bob is. What kind of person is Edmonton is getting? Because my scouting report says Ken Holland's the type of guy who's liable to ask anyone, what do you think? What do you think of the hockey team? What do you think? And someone close to you told me that unlike another good friend of yours, Scotty Bowman, you'll actually care what that person has to say.
I consider myself a people person. I got a lot of passion. I love talking to people. I'm going to be accessible, whether it's the media, whether it's hockey people. Before the games, I'm going to be in the media lounge. I'm going to be available. I talk to people. I ask them their opinions, and I gather. You gather information. You gather information. Ultimately, when it's time to make a decision, I'm going to rely on key people, on my gut instincts, my experience. The people that are in my inner circle that I trust their opinion as I go towards making a decision. But I do enjoy people that are in the business, talking to them, and what do you think of the team? What do you think the team needs? And I certainly will listen. I'll engage in a conversation because I like people. I enjoy time with people.
Do you have a handful of decisions you need to make over the next, let's say, 6 weeks? Have you delved enough into this process to already have a short to-do list that's at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, I've got some things in my mind that, obviously this is the critical time. In the National Hockey League, from the time your team's season is over until early to mid-July, that's the time when you're going to make the decisions that are going to really impact your team in 1920. Obviously, July 1st is free agency. There's the entry draft. You got to have your amateur meetings. There's the NHL Combine. You got to have your pro meetings. You got to negotiate contracts of players whose contracts are up. And then obviously there's staff, and you got to. There's always, even I was in Detroit for 22 years as a manager. Sometimes people leave to other organizations, or you got to make a move. I've believed my management style is on stability, and I believe we're all people. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, and sometimes when you make mistakes, it helps you the next go around or the next decision that you make. Hopefully, the mistake isn't too big. So I try to support people, hire people, support people. Jump in, give them my thoughts, but at the end, when I hire somebody, whether it's the head coach, the chief amateur scout, my assistant general manager who ran our farm team in Grand Rapids, I try to give people the responsibility to run in their department. Obviously, it's got to run through me, but I try to create an environment with my staff, that everybody feels a part of, that we are a team trying to do off the ice what the team on the ice is trying to do.
For so many years in Detroit, that stability you're talking about was anchored around four people: yourself, Mike Babcock, and two pretty good players, Henrik Zetterberg and Pavel Datsyuk. The Oilers have two pretty good players. Their lockers are right behind us, in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. What do those building blocks have to do in terms of impacting your decision to come here?
Well, they're massive. They're massive. You know, at the end of the day, it's about players. You know, and when you got great players, they determine the outcome of games in a positive way more often. So certainly, two massive building blocks, and they're young. There's a chance they could get better. It's not like they're 30 years old. I mean, they're in their early 20s. So obviously, two massive building blocks. I look forward to getting to know them, you know, as people, as young people. But certainly great players, and you know, Yzerman, Fedorov, Zetterberg, Datsyuk. You know, you look around the other teams, you got to have those core of players that you build around, and certainly with the Oilers, they've got that core.
Ken, you mentioned, you know, one of those pieces will be the head coach you hire. Has that process, at least in your mind, already started? And is that the immediate focal point for you? Because as you mentioned, there's so many other things at work here over the next 6 weeks, culminating in the draft in Vancouver.
Yeah, certainly making a decision on the head coach is going to be, it's a key decision in every organization. That's, you know, you got your general manager and your head coach, you got to work hand in hand. And so certainly as I go forward here, that's going to be a probably priority number one.
Ken, you're not going to be able to get out of town to collect your things without running into a season seat holder on your way out of town. I guarantee you someone's not only going to see you, they'll recognize you. And knowing Edmonton the way I do, they're going to ask you, well, what happens next? What are you going to tell them?
Well, you know what? I'm not coming into town with any magic wands. Right. You know, I look at it, you got to build it brick by brick. It's, you know, you got to build the foundation, and part of the foundation, a big part of the foundation is here, and now you got to go to work on, you know, building the entire roster. So I got to talk to some people. Obviously, I watched Edmonton play on TV, but you know, in the wintertime, I wasn't expecting I was going to be the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. So, you know, you watch the game, and so I got to talk to as many people as I can here in a short order. I got to gather up thoughts of people that have been around the team, and I've got my thoughts, but I want to get the people's thoughts that have been around this team to piece together a plan. We're going to have pro scouting meetings here in a week. We're going to have amateur scouting meetings in a week. I look forward to meeting the staff, spending some time with them, getting input on what they think of the team. And again, I've got my thoughts, but it's from a distance, it's from afar, and I want to get people's opinions that are in close. So I would tell that season ticket holder that I'm going to gather information as quickly as I possibly can. The goal, you know, I want to come in here, want to be in the playoffs in 1920. And you look at the Stanley Cup playoffs, you just got to get in. You just got to get in. Seeding doesn't matter. It's parity, and it's hard over 82 games. So how do we make the team a little bit better coming up? That's what I got to figure out. Certainly, the decision on the coach is going to be critical. And then what moves can we make to make the team better? Certainly there's some young people in this organization. Bakersfield's into round 2 of the playoffs. They had a great year. I'm sure there's some young players that are very close there. So I got to gather information quickly, because there's got to be decisions that are going to be made here from the middle of June to the middle of July that's going to impact the team in 1920.
Ken, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to town. And here's another piece of info for you. My absolute limit is a $5 Nassau. You're not going to press me at the turn.
Okay, thanks. I'm excited to be here, and look forward to getting to know you, everybody better.